So, Penny, you're in charge of all of the lovely mystery shoppers and the index programme.
Yes, that's right, I am.
And that keeps you busy.
Very busy.
There's a lot going on because there's a lot
is.
of calls and a lot of countries.
Yep, there is.
So if a practice wants to start on the index, and we'll think about Britain, just to make it, let's focus on British practices because the colleagues overseas have their own pennies.
Yes.
So we're talking about British practices.
Yep.
If they want to start with the index, there's a process they have to go through. And if you can just talk us through what a practice would need to do.
Yep, certainly. Well, they've probably already spoken to Lisa. So from the sales side, they've identified that they have a need that they want to go down this route. So there's a form they have to fill in because we can't start recording until they've actually signed and given us permission to.
And that's really critical, isn't it?
Yes, it is vital because we can't start any calls without that. They won't even get put onto the system.
And from the practice's point of view, sometimes practices don't want to tell their team about the fact that they're going to start with a call coaching programme.
Right.
But they have to.
Yes.
And it's important. So
yes, it is.
we
Absolutely
will
vital.
help them by making sure that they sign this document.
Yes, and alongside that goes the posters that Lisa will provide them with, so that they can put it in a public place, that the staff room or something like that, so that the staff are aware. And I think the key message that has to go across is that it's not a tool to whip the staff by.
Absolutely.
This is something that is used to help on each individual's development path.
Yes,
and I think that's the key thing.
And that's a nice way of looking at it, because from the point of view of the practices, we've got practices now been on the index now for 10 years.
Yes.
And the team look forward to it, and
yes.
it's part of their, how did we do this month?
Yes.
And I did better than you, and it's a real positive frame.
Yes.
But understandably, at the beginning, for some people, it may be seen differently.
Yes.
So how do we help practices get over that hump? Because there is a hump at the beginning.
There is, yes. Well, I think it comes down to the way that it's the information's provided to them, how the practice is going to use the calls. And I've had several people say they use it in a team setting, so they listen to the calls, they critique the calls themselves, and they come up with suggestions of how they could do it differently.
Brilliant.
And so it's really it's huge. It's so key, because if you could have the best vet in the world, but if your reception team aren't being as receptive as they could be, then it's not going to. Ultimately, the whole business, it benefits from this. It's across the board. It's a win-win situation.
Absolutely. So from your point of view, if you want to start with the index, it will be you that they will be talking to, and so there's this document, this sign, we call it the sign-off document.
Yes, yeah.
That's critical.
Yes, it is, yeah. And that's probably been provided, as I said, maybe via Lisa. Maybe it's something that they've seen at one of the shows that the Onswitch goes to, where they've got the opportunity to meet Lisa perhaps, or to speak to other colleagues. And once that's returned to us, we need that back by the 20th of the month.
The 20th of the month?
Yes. Right. So at that point, as long as we've got it by the 20th of the month, then the calls will start the following month.
Right.
So from the beginning of that next month. And then at the end of that month, we'll produce the site poster for them, and that'll be emailed. So we need things like the phone numbers to call and the opening times, perhaps, if they particularly want them tweaked in any particular way, and that sort of thing. So as much information as they can give us on that sign-off form, and then we'll get them up and running. And as I said, at the end of the month, they get the site posters. They also get a really handy document we've put together, which is how to interpret that the information we're giving them. And we call it a site poster. And it basically gives a chart that shows them how they've done and the recordings to listen to.
So it's once that we're in the process, it rolls on, reports come through, and we can help with how to best use that information.
Yes.
And as you say, it's a collaborative thing.
Absolutely.
So taking the team along rather than saying you did this or you did that.
Absolutely.
This is like a developmental cycle.
Yes. In fact, I think we even say that actually in one of our pieces of literature. This is not to be used, we don't want this used in any way but a supportive one.
Brilliant. Fantastic. And they couldn't have a nicer person to speak to on the phone to get it all sorted.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I try.